In this riding, a significant number of people make less than a living wage, and many are supported by either Ontario Works or ODSP. Add to that soaring house prices and rent, and many people, as a result, struggle financially. What will your government do to make life more affordable for residents here in the Bay of Quinte?
I'm proud that the Ontario Liberal Party has signed what we call the Ontario Liberal Affordability Pledge with 19 key elements to address affordability. When it comes to housing, we're going to build 1.5 million homes over 10 years. Yes, that's a very ambitious target. It's twice as many homes or twice as much as we're seeing now based on current trends. But it is the goal that we need to achieve to truly address the housing crisis.
And that's housing affordability.
Yes.
What about soaring prices for rent? Because, of course, it's a big picture, and there's not just one solution for it.
No, absolutely. And we're definitely going to, in our first 100 days, reinstate or work towards reinstating rent control, something that was eliminated under our current government. And we're also going to implement a regimented process to allow individuals to work towards renting to home ownership and to create more of a robust legal framework so that everyone has an opportunity to potentially rent to own if that's something that's available to them.
We were just talking about this. We're going to continue on with affordability. Particularly in this riding where so many people are really making less than a living wage, or they're on some sort of supports from ODSP to Ontario Works. Add to that soaring house prices and rent, as you were talking about, people struggle financially. What will a Green Party government do to make life more affordable for residents of Ontario generally and Bay of Quinte in particular?
Okay, so this is two parts. This is my favorite thing to talk about right now. We're going to make life more affordable by creating 15-minute communities, creating places where people can work, live, and play without having to spend lots of money on transport. By building up our density within our cities, not only are we going to get more chances for small business to open, but localize economies so that people are spending more money around them. Second to that, the Green Party immediately wants to double ODSP and OW as soon as they get into office. We're currently legislating poverty for a huge portion of our citizens, and that needs to end now. People can't afford to live in general, and we're telling these people that are less access to support services that they don't matter, and that needs to be rectified.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the 15-minute communities.
Yes.
And a little more on, I mean, we live in an area where 15-minute community seems realistic in some
Yes.
ways,
Okay.
but there are large parts of the province that aren't.
Okay.
How do you make that happen?
So we have a diverse region here. We've got lots of rural housing. We've got lots of city housing, right? So within the city, it's easy. We put up buildings we put up co-op and co-funding housing, first of all, to get people off the streets and the support they need to get a house, because you cannot get a job if you don't have an address. And a lot of these people would have that opportunity if they had somewhere to live. So within the city, creating more density, allowing people to be able to walk to work, be able to access daycare locally to either their house or their workplace by electrifying transit and making it more available. Now, for the rural section, I personally would love to see the Belleville system of transit expanded to include the rural outskirts of the area. Now, I don't know if you know about the Belleville system for transit, but they have an app, or you can call and schedule a pickup. And that's amazing. One of the things about having a big transit system in rural areas, there'll be lots of buses just traveling around with nobody on it. But we efficiently and effectively use technology to solve some of these problems. We'll be able to have a bus system that reaches outside the city walls and brings people into the workplace.
In this riding in particular, a significant number of people are making less than a living wage. Many of them supported either by Ontario Works or the ODSP. They depend on it to get through day-to-day life. There's soaring house prices and rent that they barely get by with to pay. Many people are struggling financially. What will a new blue government do to make life more affordable for residents here in the Bay of Quinte riding?
I think I touched on some of those things with the last question. Trying to give people a little bit of relief from taxes and electricity rates is a big one. Also, we have some strategies for promoting construction of more affordable housing. We know that that's an issue. The housing market in general is an issue. There are strategies out there that I've heard from other parties where the government is going to start building low-income housing and things like that. We don't believe the government should be in the real estate development business, or the government shouldn't be your landlord. So our strategies are more toward promoting the free market and filling that gap. Generally, if there is a shortage of something, some entrepreneur is going to come in and look after that. There'll be money to be made, and they will come in and do that. What we need to do is have a government that is able to work with them to facilitate that. Don't throw up as many roadblocks. Make it easier for those entrepreneurs to get in there and get that done. So that's sort of the strategy on that. In terms of making everything else affordable, a lot of the things, tax relief and things, are probably going to be temporary just until we can sort of flatten things out and get back rolling again. But fixing the hydro situation is definitely one that is going to be ongoing, and we hope to get a fix to that. It's been an issue for quite some time.
So sticking with the entrepreneurs, how will you encourage them to get more involved when it comes to making life more affordable? How do you encourage those people to, in turn, make those positive changes happen?
Entrepreneurs tend to do that. They're good at finding where there's money to be made. And so I think the role of the government is to let them know that they can do that without acres of red tape and years of process that they have to go through to get it done. Talking to some local developers, one of the things that I've been hearing is that it takes so long to get approvals, and it can cost tens of thousands of dollars by the time you get all your permits and approvals. We believe that if we stream that a little bit, I mean, we don't obviously want to turn it wide open so that everybody can just build wherever they want and do whatever they want. But if we make it a little bit easier, those people that stand to do business that way will be able to come in and fill those gaps.
Question number 2 is in this riding, a significant number of people make less than a living wage, and many are supported by either Ontario Works or ODSP. Add to that soaring house prices and rent, and many people struggle financially. So what will your government do to make life more affordable for residents of the Bay of Quinte region?
Affordability is one of the keys of our province's, or our party's platform, actually, for people right across the province. In every area that you go to, we're experiencing the same kind of challenges that we are in the Quinte region. Inflation is, I won't say out of our hands, but we can certainly do some things at the provincial level to make life more affordable. And that's why we're returning a portion of the provincial gas tax as of July the 1st for 6 months, 5.7 cents a litre. And we continue to try and push the federal government to put a pause on the expensive carbon tax. The carbon tax isn't just driving up the price at the pumps. The carbon tax is also driving up the price of the food that we buy at the grocery stores, because everything in our country gets trucked. So those costs get incurred by the consumers at the end of the day. It's part of the reason why we've given residents in Ontario that drive cars a break on their license plate stickers. We've eliminated those license plate stickers and refunded the fees for those stickers dating back 2 years so that they can get a break, because it appears like the federal carbon tax isn't going anywhere. There doesn't seem to be any kind of appetite for them to either provide a pause or backtrack on that carbon tax, which we fought all the way to the Supreme Court, because it was going to make life unaffordable. And, with all of the global events that are going on and the invasion in Ukraine and the price of oil around the world, it certainly had an impact on our community. And when it comes to housing, we have to ensure that we're building more homes. We have to ensure that we're increasing the supply. And that's why we kept home builders going during the pandemic, making sure that they were operating in a safe way. Because if we didn't have homes being built during the pandemic, imagine what the housing crisis would be in the Quinte region. So that's been a top priority for us.
Yeah, and the reduction, you mentioned the 5.7 liter or cents a liter reduction. How will you ensure that will stay in place much longer than what we're currently seeing?
Well, hopefully this invasion in Ukraine doesn't last forever, and we will start to see OPEC change the price per oil. It seems like over the last couple of days, and I say this touching on wood, we seem to have plateaued a little bit when it comes to the price, but certainly we have to see reductions. We can't afford a $2 a liter price at the pumps for gasoline, and even larger than that for diesel, which our farmers are so reliant on, which is only going to drive up our food cost as well. So, hopefully there will be a resolution to the invasion in Ukraine that's a positive one, because certainly, the health and safety of the people in Ukraine is top of mind, but affordability is becoming a larger issue here in the Quinte region in Ontario and across our country. So we have to get all of that under control.
In this riding, a significant number of people make less than a living wage, and many are supported by either Ontario Works or ODSP. Add to that the soaring house prices and rent, and many people struggle financially. What will your government do to make life more affordable for residents of the Bay of Quinte riding?
Yeah. The other day I was door knocking, and I met this woman named Sarah. And she told me that she had lived in her house for 18 years. And she was recently evicted by a CFO of a corporation who wanted that house for his child to live in. So she was kicked out. She moved into another apartment that's almost double what she was paying. And that house is still sitting empty. And this woman is living off ODSP. She is caring for her mother, who is going through cancer treatments. And this is just one person I met of many who are struggling with the cost of living right now. And, you talked about ODSP and Ontario Works. So the Ontario NDP, we are going to immediately raise those rates, today's rates, by 20%. And then within the next 2 years, we're going to ensure that today's rates are doubled. And we're going to fix the program. We want to work with stakeholders. We want to work with experts. We want to work with people with living in ODSP poverty, in Ontario Works poverty right now. We want to understand from them, what do we need to change the system so this never happens again? So that people who are on ODSP can afford to live with the cost of rent. They can afford to get food without depending on our food banks, which were introduced decades ago to be just a temporary solution to food insecurity. And I think for us, it's, we know so many community members have so much dignity and are so proud of where they live and who they are and how hard they've worked and how hard their parents have worked. But it shouldn't be so hard as it is right now. So we're also going to make sure homes and rent become more affordable, and we're going to do that by reintroducing the rent increase, which we know Doug Ford scrapped in favor of the landlords. He got rid of it. So what that means is the rent that a house is being rented out at, if that person leaves, that landlord cannot jack up the price. It has to be the exact same price that it was when you evicted someone, because we're hearing a lot of stories of people being thrown out of their house. Some landlords are doing a little bit of renovations and then jacking up the price. And it's so unfair and it's so unacceptable. But we have a government who favors corporations and who favors the rich over everyday people who just want to have dignity and be proud of who they are and be proud of their roots and want to just know that they have a fighting chance and their kids have a fighting chance. We're going to ensure that prescription drugs, mental health care, dental care, and vision care are covered under OHIP. We're going to go after the auto insurers and big oil and gas who are gouging our system. Now, I know the Conservatives are telling us that they're going to remove tax for 2 years. And that doesn't solve the solution or solve the problem, because what can happen today is there is no rules that prevent the oil and gas company from charging us as much as they want to. So you can remove that tax for 2 years. That doesn't stop anything. The Ontario NDP wants to stop that. We want to stop what we're seeing in our grocery stores with prices just flying through the roof. Grapes, over $10 a bag, right? Like I'm speaking to people who are living off of craft dinner, who are living off of spaghetti. One woman said, I know I'm not in good health, but this is all I can afford because my rent has doubled. I'm on ODSP and I'm looking after my elderly mother. So those are just a few things that we want to do to make things more affordable for us, for everyone.
Do you have any plans to build more affordable or attainable housing? Because the housing stock is a huge issue, or lack thereof, in this riding.
It is a very big issue. We're seeing the lack of housing impact us in a number of ways. We're seeing families being forced to leave their communities, forced to leave their schools, forced to leave the agencies who are supporting them today. And so what we're going to do is first we're going to repair in the province 260,000 social housing units. We're going to build 250,000 affordable and non-market homes over the next 10 years. But what's exciting about these homes is they're going to be operated by public, nonprofit, and co-op housing providers. Again, taking the power away from the corporations who are making so much money off of hard-working people. We're also going to end exclusionary zoning, enable affordable missing middle homes. So what does that mean? Duplexes, townhomes, walk-up apartments, granny suites. And one thing that, I'm excited about is that, I think we see this a lot in the community with youth. We have many youth, as you know, Nicole, who have had some hard parts of their life, who many youth don't feel safe at home, or they're not able to be living at home. So we are committing to increasing shelter spaces and additional wraparound services for queer, trans, and gender diverse youth and adults. We need to do more for them. The other thing too we know is we have a doctor shortage. And I was speaking to a nurse and I said, why aren't we able to attract people or doctors? And this is particularly in the county. And she said, there's nowhere for them to live. So you have this rippling effect of housing. We believe housing is a human right. It shouldn't be this hard to give people shelter. Yet it is, because it's just the bad decisions for decades have been made, and we're seeing the effects now. And we can't afford more years of parties who put the elite and the developers ahead of us, ahead of you, ahead of our kids. It's not easy, and it shouldn't be this hard.